What's going on, everybody? Welcome to World's Finest, brought to you by the Comic Collectors Guild. My name is Jake. You guys know me as the Superman, and we have a very special guest today. He is your Dark Knight of collecting, Chris, the Batman statue collector. Chris, welcome, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's absolutely fantastic to be here. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. And, fellow Comic Collector Guild member. So I've been dying to get, Chris's collection here on the Comic Collectors Guild YouTube page. So thank you so much. And I'm really excited to talk to you, man.
Hey, it's like I said, it's just an honor to be here. I'm really excited to be part of the guild. I'm a newbie, so I'm still trying to figure out what it's all about, but it's awesome to be part of it.
Awesome, man. Well, I know you very well from following you for a while, but for those who aren't too familiar with you or your channel or anything like that, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into collecting to begin with?
Well, my name's Chris. I'm just a normal guy. I'm actually an elementary school counselor. That's what I do for my full-time job. But I've always been a collector here and there. Kind of started out small and increased my collection over the years. But I love the world of Batman. That's definitely my favorite. But I'm also into so much other forms of pop culture, movies, comics, games. I love it all.
Hey, absolutely. That we're all fans of all these different genres and characters, and that's what makes geek culture so beautiful. Is there's so many characters to choose from and worlds that you can get into. Obviously, you have quite the collection now. But do you remember your very first piece that you got?
I do. If in terms of like a premium format from Sideshow, I kind of think about me starting from that point. It was actually a Jack Sparrow premium format. It was their original OG piece. I'm a big giant Pirates of the Caribbean fan, and so that piece really spoke to me. I really wanted merch from that. And I'm also a big Disney fan. My family goes once or twice a year. We live in the middle of the country, so getting to Florida or California is a big deal. But we love Disney, and so Pirates of the Caribbean is my favorite ride. So those movies really spoke to me. So that piece in particular was just something at the time I couldn't believe I was spending $200 on a collectible. Like that was just mind blowing. And in another case, my wife and I, we were at a comic book shop one time, and my other Batman, my first real Batman collectible was they had a DC Direct Batman. It was called a museum piece. And it was $250. And I remember we discussed it for an hour of whether I should spend $250 because I had never spent that much money on anything collectible wise. And, now I'm spending, thousands and thousands of dollars on this stuff. And so it's been interesting to see how that's progressed. But those were my two first real collectible, the high end stuff. I used to collect the Gentle Giant bus, from Star Wars and things like that. Yeah. I just had little things on my desk. But it's definitely changed since then. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's funny, now, $250, it's shipping for, half of these pieces these days. What in the heck is going on?
Yeah, one of my last pieces, I paid $380 in shipping.
Yep, so, that is sounds about right.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and one thing, I'm a huge Disney fan too. There's a piece, I'm curious if you still have it. You had a Captain Hook premium format. Do you still have that?
I do. We had planned, I've been doing this channel for almost 4 years now, and we had planned to start another channel. We've actually have another YouTube channel out there called Midwest Musketeers. We're just my family adventures going to the parks, and we were going to kind of set up the studio and do everything. But then with what's going on in the world right now, we kind of put a hold on that stuff. But that was going to be part of our set. But yeah, I definitely still have him, and he's going to be in our Disney room. So
that is cool. Yeah, I wish they would do more. I mean, they started doing the Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland and those kind of pieces. So hopefully they keep growing with more of the Disney characters because I think they're really cool.
Well, they started out with those premium formats. They did Jessica Rabbit, and they did Maleficent and a couple others, and I was really excited because I was like, this is going to be such a great line. And those pieces are grail pieces for a lot of collectors out there. They're very, very expensive. They're very, very hard to find. They're very limited quantities in the first place. Their edition size was very small. So I was really hoping that they would continue on with that line, but then they lost the Disney license or they just didn't renew it. And like you said, at least they're doing some products now with J. Scott Campbell. You referred to that fantasy line, which is incredible. Really beautiful pieces, but I would love to see more Disney for sure.
No, I'm with you, dude. But obviously your claim to fame, I would say, is probably your Arkham line by Prime One Studios. I know you're a big Batman, and especially the villains. what particular about that particular line made you be like, that's the line I want to collect? And, you know, why the Arkham line?
Well, when Prime 1 first got the DC license, these were the first pieces that they were coming out with. And I had never heard of 1/3 scale. It's a bigger scale. Most of my stuff was like the scale behind me. This is that 1/4 scale premium format. And when Prime 1 came out, I was like, okay, I don't know if I can afford these things. They're going to be way too big for my collection. But at the time, I was a really big gamer fan of the Arkham Knight series. I still am. I was playing those games at the time. And to me, they spoke to me character design wise. Like, I feel like they are just like these perfect representations of what I think the characters should look like. Yeah. And so they started out with Batman, then they did Arkham Knight, then they did, I think, Harley. And then they just kept coming out with more and more characters. And I have almost all of them, except I wish that they were doing more. I would love to see like a Firefly or, you know, Clayface or somebody else that they did in the game. And even a Riddler. A lot of people were really upset they didn't do a Riddler. Like, how do you not do a Riddler?
I know, right?
But anyway, this Arkham line is just insane. And the details on these pieces, have you seen them in person? Do you have them?
I have, yes. They're spectacular. I mean, it literally is like they took them right out of the video game and made them even look more realistic than in the game. I mean, it's every little detail on their outfits or costume or their face is just spectacular. Yeah,
and one thing I really like about the Prime 1 pieces is they offer a lot of different swap outs. Yeah. So you know, like if you like this head, you might like this head better, or like I'm looking at Two-Face over here, and he's got a pistol, or he has a grenade launcher. Yeah. That was the exclusive, so you get to really display him how you want it displayed, and I really like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think too, with Prime 1, what's funny is like I was like, okay, my first Prime 1 was that Deathstroke that I did a review on your channel for, but I was like, 1/4 scale, 1/3 scale, like how much bigger could it be? You know what I mean? And then I got it and I was like, oh, I can't even display this near those guys because it literally just dwarfs the 1/4 scales, and they look like micro machines next to it. So
yeah, it's crazy. And like the Arkham pieces, a lot of their bases were pretty tiny. Like they were not massive bases, which I really liked because then I could put them all together.
Right.
But these newer pieces, like you mentioned, like they're like it takes up the space of 3.
Yeah, like Freeze and Killer Croc especially. I've seen them, I'm like, oh my god, like I can't even imagine how much space they take up.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn my camera here. I got Killer Croc right there, and you know he definitely takes up the space of 2 pieces. Like you said, Freeze with all the ice shards coming off of it.
Yeah,
it's crazy, but the bases do help tell the story, which I appreciate, as long as it's not taking away from the statue.
Right. Yeah. And what I try and tell people with collecting too, I was like, you don't realize it's like the boxes too. I was like, you need so much space just as like a storage unit just to put freaking boxes in with these pieces, because they're just like the Deathstrokes, 2 boxes, like almost the size of my recliner. And it's like, oh my gosh, they just get bigger and bigger each time.
They do. I just moved recently and I had to put everything in a storage house or a storage warehouse, and it filled the entire thing. Like we had other furniture and stuff that needed to go in there, but my boxes alone filled almost that entire thing, probably at least over 3/4 full. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I moved pretty recently too, and I just have a couple, you know, some 1/4 scale pieces in one Prime 1, and it was a time for me. So God bless you when you were moving, because I can only imagine how stressful it is for like no breakage and just the room it takes up. So I'm glad everything made it over, you know, in one piece, or at least hopefully everything came over.
Well, the one funny thing about that story is we had a realtor come over to our house, and she came up into the back cave and she's like, this is cool, but this is all got to go. Which I was glad, because I didn't want, you know, people knocking into stuff, of course. Right. But yeah, in literally less than 48 hours, I boxed up over 35 statues. And I was really, really proud of that, because that was, I've never worked so hard in my life to get all those boxes, because they're so massive.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. Well, obviously the Arkham line, it's been out for a while, and they're pretty much, at least I think most of it's pretty much wrapped up, I would say. Obviously, as a collector, you and I both know there's always the next piece or the next line that you're getting into. Is there a specific line similar to Arkham that you're looking to get into as you further your collection?
Well, right now I've got this collection behind me, and this is kind of my claim to fame, like you said, is this collection behind me. I started with this display of Sideshow collectibles. They're coming out with a couple of new pieces. They have the Scarecrow and also Mr. Freeze. I have both of those on pre-order. And I'm really hoping they continue on with more characters. We just had artist Daniel Bell on the show not too long ago, and he is phenomenal. And
he is my favorite Sideshow artist.
He is absolutely fantastic. And I got to talk to him about an hour after the show. So I'm excited to see some things coming from them. I know there's going to be some surprises and things. So I'm really excited about continuing on this collection. Also, since my Arkham line is finishing up, the only one that's left is a Poison Ivy. And they did that kind of just for fan service. They had finished the line, but so many fans were vocal about it that they said, okay, we'll throw you one more bone and give you that Ivy. So she will be coming into the collection. And then over on this side of the collection over here, I've got all of my comic book pieces, like Deathstroke. I've got the Batman Who Laughs. The pieces that I'm really considering or that are coming in are like the Bermejo Joker, the new Harley Quinn, the Hush Poison Ivy. I'm hoping to get the new Bane. So my focus from here on out is going to be those 1/3 scale comic book pieces. I would love to collect the movie pieces. Like they just showed that Joaquin Phoenix Joker. That is just, that might be my one exception.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to stay away from the movie pieces because I just don't have the room for those. But comic stuff is what's speaking to me right now. The comic pieces, I think they're doing a really good job on them. And so that's kind of where I see my direction in the next couple years.
Yeah. So touch on two things that's funny. So that Joaquin, first of all, I think that might be the best facial sculpt of a live person. I bet. I mean, it is almost freaky how accurate.
Hands down good.
Yeah. So I thought about two with Daniel Bell. I think it's funny within the sideshow community. You know, they always release like what's coming soon. And every time they release a new piece, they're like, can we get the Daniel Bell Silver Surfer maquette here? Like, I feel like all my friends are like, when are they dropping this thing? So that dude is definitely getting a hype train behind it.
I have a feeling you're going to see him at the San Diego Comic-Con, the online event that they're going to do. I have a feeling.
That would be nice. That would be nice. And obviously with these statues, you know, you do some incredible reviews on your page. Why don't you talk about, you know, how you got into creating a YouTube page and like what your thought process is and kind of what does your page go over for the people who want to check that out?
Well, it's crazy. I didn't really put all that much thought into it to start out. I literally just filmed my collection one day. I had moved all of my collection from the basement up into the attic. It was the area above our garage in our old house. And I just thought, you know, people might be interested to see it because I loved watching, you know, YouTubers and there were not a lot out at the very beginning. Charlie Oxley from Australia was one that I used to watch, and it was Bruce Campbell's Chin. And like Rad Titan and some of these other channels that I used to watch, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Maybe somebody would want to see some of the pieces that I have. And I put it up there, and I remember I got to 100 views, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's 100 people out there that would care about this. Yeah. So I thought, well, maybe somebody would want to see this statue and this statue. And so I just started kind of doing these really quick reviews, and they were awful, you know, bad lighting. And just, you know, I then from there started the Facebook group. And that really what's become my favorite part of all of this is the community that we've created. And, you know, you with the Collectors Guild and everything else, like these communities bring people together. One of my favorite aspects is doing like the featured collector, to show everybody else out there how people display things and what they have in their collections, you know, and maybe it'll inspire you to do your collection that way, or to get this piece or that piece. And, you know, we just kept growing and growing. As of this recording right now, we're almost up to 14,000 people on YouTube and 14,000 on Instagram and all these people in the Facebook groups. Like, it's just so cool because it's just, like I said, it just brings everybody together. And that's my absolute favorite part.
No, I'm with you on that. I mean, and guys, I would definitely check out his page. Me personally, he's one of the pages that got me into collecting. So big thank you to you on that. But to your point too, like, it's not like you can just go out in your neighborhood and probably find another person that collects this kind of stuff or even know this stuff exists. So the community aspect of it is just like, you know, it's so cool. And I've met people, like I'm sure you have too, in different countries and different continents, and it's you have the same language because, you know, you end up talking about the same characters and we all have the same love regardless of where you live. So I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I just can't believe how many people I've connected with, and I consider really good friends now. You know, I've never even met them, but I consider them really, really good friends because, you know, we talk every day or we have conversations. I've made, you know, relationships with statue companies, which is amazing, you know,
Yeah, that's cool.
and I get to see behind the scenes things sometimes, and that they trust me with that, you know, we're blurting it to everybody.
Yeah.
Like things like that. It's so cool the way we've connected it with people and places that I never ever thought possible. And it's just been so incredibly special. I absolutely love that.
That's spectacular, dude. And I guess one thing that I know you've touched on in your channel that I think would be important for some of the guild members and viewers to know is, what advice would you give to somebody who is just starting about thinking about collecting or starting a statue collection? You know, we all have gone through like decisions where we're like, probably shouldn't have done that, and some trial and error. What would that advice be for you?
So doing this for almost 4 years, I've seen a lot of collectors kind of tier up. Okay. And what I mean by that is they'll start with like Funko Pops, or then they'll go from Funko Pops to figures, and then figures to maybe like 1/5 scale statues here and there. And that's exactly what happened to me. I started out with like Hot Toys. You know, I had some Hot Toys, and they're great, but for me, they were just a little bit too doll-like. I just felt like I wanted something a little bit more, something more. And so that's when I went to 1/4 scale. So I think it's okay to do that. I think it's smart to do that, especially in terms of budget. I think that's really important for collectors to not go beyond their means. It's very easy to get carried away in this hobby. I've seen a lot of collectors almost have like hoard-like collections because they just can't stop. They buy everything. I did a video recently on stress, and stress for me was wanting everything and not being able to get it. And so I had to have a focus. And I chose Batman. I used to collect Star Wars and Marvel and everything else, but Batman has always been something that's been a passion for me. I remember when I was a kid and I used to watch Scooby-Doo, and there would be this episode where Joker and Penguin would come on there every once in a while. And like, I used to live for those episodes. And from that point on, I have wanted to always have Batman surrounded by his villains. And I love the Rogues Gallery. And so that had to be my focus. And that's helped so much, is to have a focus, to be smart with your money. A lot of people make fun of people like me with spreadsheets, but I do spreadsheets where I keep track of how much I'm spending, when that money's coming out, how much shipping's going to be, especially when you get into the high level stuff, you know, Sideshow and Prime One, Queen Studios, XM Studios, Tweeterhead, any of these companies. That's my biggest piece of advice, is making sure that you're keeping track of your money, not going beyond your means, and also having a focus. And also you have to consider your display space. That's always a collector's problem, is space. I have a fairly good sized room here, but I'm running out of room quickly. And so then you have to decide, okay, is this something I still want to keep? You know, some people keep everything they have. I just did a video this week about, I used to have 40 different statues that I no longer own. And that's because, you know, I had to shift things in and out for new pieces that I wanted. But I I look at some of these pieces I've had since day one, like this Joker back here on this side. I've had him in my collection the entire time. So I guess that's the advice that I would say, you know, kind of start out small, work your way up. Or instead of spending, you know, a couple $100s on maybe Pops, if you want to spend a couple $100s on a 1/5 scale, maybe you get a little bit more bang for your buck. It looks a little bit more high end. It really just depends on the collector.
Yeah. One thing that's nice about, you know, me as like a Batman, Superman fan, and Batman is Rogue. They're always going to come out with another version of Batman or another version of Joker. So just be patient and trust me, something's going to roll out sooner or later for sure.
Always. Always.
Yeah, which is a good segue, I guess, to my next question. I know Batman is your guy, as well as I know you're a big Joker fan and the villains. When you were a kid, which version of, like, what got you into that character? Was it like the 66 Batman or like I know you mentioned Scooby-Doo. I love those episodes myself. So what was that experience into like the Batman world for you, and what got you into that character?
I always liked Batman as a kid, but I think, you know, it was Batman '89. That movie with Nicholson really sent me over the edge. I started collecting a little bit more at that point. You know, I think I was around 12 or 13 at that time. I remember I went to the movies like 15 times in a row that summer. I had all my ticket stubs. I just was kind of obsessed with that movie. At that time, that's when I discovered the 60 series, because they started airing those again. And but I think that Nicholson Joker is really what pushed me over the edge. And around that same time too, they had The Killing Joke, which is still one of my favorite comics to this day. And just the art and how it was so much darker than, it was more adult than anything I had experienced really before. So I think that was kind of my tipping point into the more dark side of Joker, versus that comedic, funny, goofy trickster Joker. So I think that's really what started it for me, was especially The Killing Joke and the '89 Joker.
Yeah, and it's cool with Batman because those movies and stories hold up so well. You can, and I know for you personally, like you can pass these stories down to your kids, and they enjoy them just as much as we did, when we were first introduced, which I think is like really cool.
Yeah, I just had my son. He is 11 right now, and he was interested in reading one of the books, and so I started him with Hush, and he absolutely loved it. He read it twice, and so then he said, "Okay, what else can I have?" So I gave him The Killing Joke. I wasn't quite sure, and he thought that was a little too scary. He didn't like that one near as much. And I also gave him The Long Halloween. He's a very, very fast reader. Long Halloween's my favorite Batman story.
Mine too.
And so I'm actually rereading it this week. But he thought that was a little too scary too. So he's kind of on that edge of discovering some of these books, but he keeps asking for more. Hey, what's the next one, Dad? So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you have a favorite version of Batman and Joker? We've had so many iterations over the years. Do you have a particular favorite that's like when you close your eyes, like that's your Batman, and I'm guessing Nicholson might be your Joker, but
it was for a long time, but then Heath Ledger came along. Heath Ledger is my quintessential Joker. I have the Queen Studios life-size bust, and it's insane. I absolutely love that representation of the character. I think he blew everything out of the water. In terms of movie, that's my favorite. I really liked Joaquin Phoenix as well, but Heath Ledger is my Joker.
Yep.
In terms of just like when I close my eyes, I think of Mark Hamill.
Me too.
The animated series. I'm a big fan of the animated series, and he has been that voice. And I was a little bit older when that came out. I was born in the late 70s. So that, I watched the animated series, but then I kind of lost interest. I was kind of growing up and working full time and all that other stuff. And so I lost interest in Batman for a while. But it's his voice. It's that voice. And then, of course, it continued on in the Arkham games. So they kind of refueled that fire. And it just solidified how much I love Mark Hamill's Joker.
Absolutely.
And that's why I bought the Arkham Knight Prime 1 piece, is because I look at him and I hear his voice. I hear it.
I remember for the longest time, watching the animated show and as a kid, and then it was a while before I was like, that's Luke Skywalker? Like, what? It's such a like, wait, what? Like, because two, I mean, can you get any more iconic of two characters, for crying out loud? The same guy, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I mean, you see this guy behind me. I got Heath. He's my favorite live action as well. Joaquin was incredible, but Heath had just enough of that comic. Like I've known that Joker before, whereas Joaquin's was so different in a refreshing way. But Heath is my guy, and then Mark Hamill as well. Same with Kevin Conroy. Like, Ben Affleck's my favorite, like on-screen Batman, but I just want to hear all I hear is Kevin Conroy's voice, whenever Batman comes out. So I'm 100% with you on that.
Have you ever had a chance to meet Kevin?
I have not. I actually, one of the guild executives is like a huge fan, and I got him as a gift a cameo from Kevin Conroy.
That's so awesome.
And I literally just said, "Hey, he's a huge fan. Could you just, say if you?" He sent a 4.5-minute video just talking, and it was I've heard so many good things about how awesome of a guy he is.
I think I saw that, actually. I saw that video. It was but yeah, I met him a couple years ago, and he's just so nice, and it was really cool to be able to talk to him. So hopefully one day you'll get a chance.
Oh, I sure hope so. As far as like a Batman, have you met any of the other like versions of Batman or Joker, as far as like an actor or a voice actor with these characters?
I think, I did meet Tara Strong. Tara Strong does some of the other Harley Quinn voices and tons of other voices.
Yeah.
And she was really awesome. We did a little promo together, and that was really cool for the channel. So that's was cool. Awesome. She did the Harley voice. So, but it's just been those two so far. I think my dream person to meet would be Mark Hamill. I'd really like to meet him at some point. I'm sure it's going to be harder and harder, especially with no conventions right now. It makes it really difficult. But I would really because again, to me, he is the Joker, and
I would just be torn. Like I wouldn't know whether to get him a Joker thing autographed or my lightsaber autographed by Luke. You know what I mean? It's like which
yeah.
You know, I don't even know what I would ask him, which one. But no, that's awesome. And obviously, for my own personal interest, what's like your most upcoming statue that you're most excited about that's entering the Batcave here shortly? Because I'm always like waiting to see like, oh, new review. I'm like, all right, Chris, like here comes another good one.
That's like picking my favorite child. Like it's so hard to pick. But the ones that really come to mind, I'm really excited about the Bermejo Joker. I've always been really happy with his work. I always feel like it's so realistic and so gritty. And I don't know how this happened, but he actually came on the channel and we did an interview together, and that was like a dream come true for me that he accepted to do that, because I respect his work so much. And the Bermejo Joker is just such a sick piece. I already have the Batman Noel. They also have done a Batman Damned piece in 1/3 scale. But it's the Bermejo Joker that, man, I just cannot wait. And also there's an Iron Studios Joker where he's got the ripped off face. And I have that one on pre-order as well. And so I'm really excited about that. But man, I'm excited about all the ones like I mentioned, I've got Bane and Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn coming. And so, yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, that Bane might be the coolest base I've seen with like Batman in the mud. Like I was like, oh, like they just stepped it up big time with that with the base with Batman. So
it's incredible, and I really like the pieces that tell a story. A lot of them are museum poses, and they're fine for what they are. They represent the character, but I love the ones that tell a story.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And last question, I know this is something you asked. If you had the power to create any statue for you personally, what would that dream piece be for you?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one.
I know there's so many.
I don't know. I think that I would really like to have a new Heath Ledger version, a new bust, maybe an even more realistic bust. And again, I'm not collecting movie pieces, so it's hard for me to say that. But I want that perfect piece to represent him in my collection somehow. In terms of maybe comic book pieces, I don't know. I think I would love to see like an animated series line of some sort. Like I would love to see. I know Sideshow's kind of done their take on it.
Yeah,
it's not my favorite. I mean, they're neat pieces, and I don't love the scale. I would love to see maybe in 1/4 scale or something. There's an artist out there, and I don't know if you've seen it from my channel, but I featured a guy named Raf Grassetti.
Yes. Oh, his art prints are so good.
I'm gonna get that right once. Grassetti. And just I would love to see those made in 3D form. I think that would be amazing. So like those type of things I think come to mind. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think more on this because I don't know. There's too many possibilities. Obviously, more Jokers. Maybe a Finch Batman would be awesome, like a 1/3 scale Finch Batman. I love that that Batman 700 cover. It's just I have the CGC of that. I just got into that CGC. That's a whole nother world there. But I think that would be awesome to have that cover in 3D form.
That is awesome. I mean, there's no bad answer in that, so I can definitely appreciate that. Where can everybody find you on social media as well as your YouTube page to check out your content?
All right. Well, YouTube, it's Batman Statue Collector. That's simple. On Facebook, it's Batman Statue Collector Brotherhood of the Bat Collectibles. And then Batman Statue Collector on Instagram. Also on TikTok now, of all places. So just look up Batman Statue Collector and you'll find me.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much again. It's truly been a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we can have you back soon. And it's always an honor to see the Batcave and all your awesome collectibles, man. Thank you. Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This has been a blast. Thank you. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to World's Finest. Please check out the website, www.comiccollectorsguild.com. You can listen to all of us on Spotify as well as Google Podcasts. And until next time, guys, keep hunting. Bye, guys.